Hello, hello. Welcome in, everyone, to a special Tuesday night edition of the Joe Schmo Show. TBS, you're a copycat. TBS is bringing back their Joe Schmo Show, and then they only did it after I started my channel on YouTube. Anyway, I am really excited about the special guest we have coming on tonight. We finally got our schedules to sync up, and we are blessed to have her spend her time with us this evening to share some of her research. And why are we talking about Lori Vallow Daybell? Well, we've been talking about it on the channel quite a bit, but she's getting ready to go on trial for the murder of Charles Vallow. And we all know that she went on trial in Idaho for the murders of Tylee and JJ and Tammy Daybell, and was convicted of those murders, sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. And then she got extradited back to Arizona because actually the murder of Charles Vallow happened before JJ and Tylee went up to Idaho with them to one of their whatever they were doing up there. And maybe the person we have coming on as a guest can help explain what was going on up there. So without further ado, welcome Kresha Easton of Difficult Research.
What's up, everybody? Hey, so glad to be here. Nervous. I always move around, and at first, for sure, it's always an awkward. As soon as I push live or go live, it's like the Men in Black show up and they zap me. But I'm glad to
they flash they flash the little pin thing.
They do.
Yeah.
And then it all comes flooding back, and then I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, hopefully we can work through it together, because I mean,
you're laid back.
I am sometimes a little too laid back, I've heard, but
I need that. I need that.
We will work through it. So we're going to start by having you tell about yourself, but you have been doing research ever since your uncle was killed, right? Or when JJ and Tylee were found. But
no,
when he was killed.
Okay. I didn't know that. I just, because whenever my uncle was unalived, I hate that. But whenever he died, I just went, and it's like it just shocked me. It shocked my senses. Like, I don't know how to explain it besides it. I don't know. It's like an awakening. And I know that sounds so cuckoo, especially with the woo-woo people we are going to be talking about. I feel weird for even saying that, but it's like everything just mattered. All, like nothing, like the old Kresha died that day too. And I've not been able to turn around and go back or even remember what that life was like before. It traumatized me. It really traumatized me.
So
we found oh, go ahead.
No, I kind of want to lead us down that path gradually, point A to point B to point C, because you're in the deep end of the pool. You've been doing research for years and years and years, and you're in the deep end of the pool, and you're swimming laps around us, and we're in the shallow end of the pool.
Yes.
So we're gonna have to take this step by step. We're trying to take a drink out of a garden hose, and you've got a fire hose there getting ready to crack that thing open.
Every day.
So first start out, tell us about yourself. Tell us about, how well you knew your Uncle Charles, and how he was before he met Lori and how he was after he met Lori. Like, kind of bring us along that route to start with.
My name is Kresha K. Easton. I am Kay Vallow Woodcock's daughter. So Kay Vallow Woodcock is Charles Vallow's sister. Okay, so he's my uncle. And then my brother, well, I don't know where to start, because I mean, there's me. I have a fiance. We were supposed to get married 6 years ago at this time of the year. but all the things happened with Lori, and it's just been chaotic ever since. So, um, I have two children, Zach and Ashlyn. They're JJ's only cousins. There's three. They're my daughter, my son, and then JJ. And JJ was my brother's only child. He was born. I was there the day he was born, in a hospital. Todd is my brother. Okay. I don't know how to do it's so. Todd was in a long-term relationship with a girl named Mandy Leger.
So that's JJ's dad is Todd?
JJ's dad is Todd, his real dad, his bio dad. My brother is 8 years younger than me, so he's in his late 30s now, and he has no other children, so anyways. And Mandy, so they were in a long-term relationship, but they were very toxic for one another. Very good people alone, but you put them together and it was just like, holy crap. The best thing that came out of that relationship was JJ. He looks just like my brother and he looks just like Mandy all at the same time.
Wow.
We lost Mandy also in 21 or 22. I think 22. She, it was a lot of stress on her as well. Although he was adopted, she loved Uncle Charles. She always talked highly of him. She was a praying woman, so she clung to the cross, and that was her way of coping with everything. I mean, I can't imagine. And I'm about to tell you something that's going to blow your mind even more. Well, so I'm just going to fit it in right here because there's really nowhere else to put it. So, okay, well, I have to tell about the adoption. So Todd and Mandy have, Canaan was his name. JJ was born as Canaan. His name was Canaan Todd. And he was born 10 weeks premature. He was 1 pound. Don't quote me on this. About 1.5 pounds or 2.5 pounds. He was tiny. He had wires, coming out of him. He was in NICU. Mandy delivered in the NICU, not NICU, in the ER. No, not in the ER. In what's the intensive care? My bad. And I mean, so it was a very traumatic birth. He was born with drugs in his system. And it was just, I remember thinking like, oh my God, is he going to make it? I just knew, I was unsure if he was going to survive. And I remember praying. I remember, reaching out on Facebook. I remember just being so worried. And he's a fighter, that is something that Canaan / JJ was. Well, so that was back in 2012. And then Uncle Charles had married Lori in 2006, February 14th, 2006, another Vegas wedding. She was married. Lori was married to, oh gosh, it's like a Pepto-Bismol commercial or something.
It's hard to keep track of all of her husbands.
Like with all her last names and stuff. She's a busy little woman. Busy Mormon. Like she likes, anyways. She yeah. Wait, would you say the other day, gird up your loins? I was there for it. I was like, oh, I get it. I'm girding up my loins, dude. I get it. I was like, I might put that on some merch, man. That's funny, But so Lori was born to devout Mormons, not devout. I mean, they converted according to Megan Connor, who you had on the other a week ago or so.
Yeah, February 12th.
Yeah. Megan. Yeah, she's a much better speaker than me. So, I mean, hey, it takes. There's no I in team, so I look at it as a team. We're not.
There is an M and an E in team.
You know
Just
what?
kidding.
No, I've heard it. I've heard it when I worked the oil spill. And I was like,
Oh,
of course there is. I get it. But I mean, that's how I look at it. She's really good because, or in the sense that she's related to Lori. She grew up with Lori and Alex, and she knows the culture. She was inside. She was a Mormon. She grew up Mormon her whole, her entire life,
yeah.
and she deconstructed not long, like I would say simultaneously with this case. So whenever she came onto the scene, when Megan came onto the scene, I was like, who is this? And, she's talking truth, like about the church. And I've been just kind of by myself. And I am not Mormon. I've never been Mormon. So I am a never-mo.
Has
And
anybody ever tried to convert you?
no, not even Lori or Charles. So they
Wow.
weren't very good at missionary
No.
work. Just now, Lori did tell my daughter is 19 now, or 20. Crap. Anyway, she told her that she was special, and Ashlyn kind of opened up to me afterwards because I was like, hey, it's okay to talk about these things. She was your aunt. She was your, actually, Ashlyn spent the most time with Lori and Charles. Like she would go and spend a couple weeks or, during the summer and stuff, or go with my mom when my mom and Larry went. I'll have to give y'all a chart for who I am and where I fit in. It's crazy because I'm also JJ's. Well, okay, so Lori and Charles, they adopt JJ. My mom and Larry brought JJ home. Okay, this is horrible. You're gonna have to maybe just let me rip. I've never had to really do this. So after JJ got out of NICU, or actually the day after JJ was born, my brother, Todd, was arrested on old charges. So he was in jail. And although he was not doing anything wrong in the moment, yeah, it was really a sad situation, in my opinion. I wish that there could have been a little more help on his end, but yeah, you woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? But
Yeah,
NICU,
the system is not designed to help. The system is
it's
designed
not.
to
It's
no.
not. You're right. It really is design. Everything, it's broken. And I mean, that doesn't mean that it's totally broken, all the systems, but we find flaws like this when these tragedies happen. And then that's whenever they implement all these new laws and in their names, you have the Amber Alert, you have Kaylee Anthony, the little girl. I don't know all the things, but so whenever so Todd was in jail. Since Kanan was born with drugs in the system, Mandy lost her rights immediately. So the baby went home with my mom and my stepdad, mom and Larry. And anyway, so it fast forward a few months or so, Todd's still in jail. And then I remember mom calling me and saying that Lori and Charles wanted to adopt JJ. And I was like, why? What? I was just like, I didn't even know this was a issue or up for debate or anything. And anyway, so I mean, it bothered me because I was like, Todd's not here. It's just it feels very wrong. But I
Feels
mean, who am
forced.
I to
It
say
feels forced.
it feels like, hey, we don't have all the parties here.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, he had to have signed over, him and Mandy both or whatever. But anyways, it was crazy. I actually didn't talk to my mom for a little while after that because I was just like, what? Like this, we can do that. We can pitch in. And I mean, I was thinking very selfish in that moment. Like in that moment, I wasn't thinking about Kanan, JJ. I was just thinking like, oh, we can help. We can help. We can do whatever. We can pitch in. But, you have to be selfless and think about the baby. What's best for the baby? And at that
So
time, they were best for the baby.
right.
It's
So
not.
we watched a bunch of interviews on my channel the last couple of weeks, And all we heard on the back end of everything was how Lori kept telling everybody that JJ was such a pain in the butt. So
Yeah,
do you feel like they went into it with good intentions and she just got overwhelmed with having a special needs child,
not
or
sure. I
how do you
mean,
think it evolved?
now, now I'm just like, I think it's extra and overt that she even went through with it. And it's kind of that covert, that passive aggressiveness that is so prevalent in all of these people in and around Chad and Lori. They're so like smiling to your face while stabbing you in your back. And I mean, they're just looking at you, and you're just like, huh? I left your knife right here. I mean, because it's like, I don't know who this person is anymore. Actually, whenever Lori walked in the courtroom for the first time in Idaho, for me, after she was extradited from Kauai, I remember looking at the TV and I was like, I don't know who that is. Like, she walked in with her shoulders back, her nose up. It's always up. She's always looking down at everyone. And I didn't know who that was. And then later on, I'm like, they're the zombies. That's the zombie right
Oh,
there.
wow.
Because that's a carcass right there where my aunt used to be in there and somebody hijacked her. Probably
So
Satan. I think that's who it was.
so you were going to tell me something that was going to blow my mind.
Yeah. Well, so, and this is just, yeah. Anyway, so Mandy and Todd, they would periodically they would come together and go back apart, come together, go back after JJ, and after he was adopted and everything. And I mean, that's what I'm saying. They were always good for, they're good people. They just weren't, they were toxic with one another. And they have, drug problems. Um, so Mandy got pregnant again. And
With Todd's baby?
no, it would have been, well, she is or was, okay, she's alive. The baby, she was his half sister, and Lori and Charles were going to adopt her too.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I'm just
Wow.
like, oh, would there
She,
have been three
yeah.
holes to dig in Chad's backyard, or, yeah, for whatever happened, it happened, and thank God it didn't go through. But I remember thinking at that time, how sweet, like, wow, that's really amazing. They're gonna adopt this baby too. And wow, I just remember being wowed by it. I only met Lori, I met her after they got married. The Uncle Charles, we just kind of met up. All the Vallow family just kind of went to Austin, this house, one of his friend's house, or some Microsoft friend or something. I don't know. And it was a really multi-million-dollar ranch type place. And like the guest house we stayed in with the Cox family. So there's the Catholics over here who we drank. We did at that time for sure. And then you have the Mormons over here. And not just any Mormons, but you have the Cox Mormons over here. And so it was interesting. I'll just say that. And I remember little things from that though, that, I mean, kind of came back to me after all this stuff. I still haven't found my pictures. I think they're on my old hard drive because I have a bunch of pictures of that time. Just anyways. But I remember Tylee, she was 3 whenever I met her, because my daughter she was an infant. And my son was a little older than Colby, maybe. And so like all of our boys stayed in this little loft house, and they had every gaming station and they were just having fun. And we stayed in this guest house that, I mean, I would consider that a mansion. But, and I remember, seeing Tylee, she would cling to her mom's leg, because Lori was engaging with everybody. Like she was she's the charismatic one for sure. I mean, I don't think that has slipped by anybody, right?
No.
Chad is about as interesting as watching paint dry. Toenails dry come to mind because he looks like a toe. Totally. I mean, he looks like a thumb. I don't know. He just
we
I'm
had
just
we
like,
had
yeah.
we had nicknames for him when we watched his trial. We had lots of nicknames for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I mean, the worst I could really do was like nerd. I was just like, he's
Right.
such a
Yeah.
nerd.
Well, I mean, so what did she see in him? We are jumping all over the place here.
Hey, please forgive us, okay? Because it's so hard. The trauma, though, I really think it, you know, pierced
Right.
my
It's like an
veil.
onion of the worst kind. There's so many layers to it.
Yeah, and it makes your eyes burn the whole time. It really does.
Exactly.
But
So
Lori, he was like Elena, and she was like talk nerdy to me, is what it was. I'm almost sure they probably used whiteout on that line right there. It's redacted. It's redacted right now. It is a long
okay, so
story, huh, Donna?
talk about your relationship with your Uncle Charles and how
Oh,
if you noticed any difference between before he met Lori and after he met Lori, or how he changed over time after he met Lori.
okay.
Like, did you see any changes in him?
No,
No.
he's just same old, same old. Just, I mean, he'd wear shorts and flip flops. That's like his comfort. He would fly into town or come into town, and he would be wearing. I actually have pictures of him wearing some shorts. We're in front of oh my gosh, the Dallas show, Fort Worth, Oh my gosh, South Fork. There was a show called Dallas back in the 80s. And we went and stood in front of it, me, my grandmother, my uncle, and my cousin. My grandma was holding me, and I was like 8. I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, so we're standing there, and Uncle Charles is like in his little Dukes, his Daisy Dukes. But I mean, other than that, he was just a real laid back guy. Laid back. He carried himself very well. He always dressed nice. He always was polite, kind, considerate. Chivalrous is the one word that I can just nail on him. That and integrity. He, that was the uncle I knew. Uh, he was married twice before Lori. So Lori was his third marriage. He married, I say my Aunt Kim because I was young and my mind was molded. Okay. But Kim was his first wife. And I was in their wedding. I was a flower girl in their wedding. And then they didn't have a flower girl in his second wedding to Cheryl, but I was still in it. and so I was in 2 of his 3 weddings. And then, he had 2 sons one biological son with Cheryl, no kids with Kim, one biological son with Cheryl. And then before they had the biological son, my cousin, they adopted within the family Cole, their oldest. I was there. It was my cousin. They adopted my cousin's baby. She was young. And anyway, so I mean, that was successful. That was a successful family adoption. Still would be, if he were, and it still is. I don't know. I don't know. I've never looked up successful or unsuccessful. I'm just saying, I would say JJ, that's a fail. Okay. That's a
Yeah.
fail. That's a failed adoption.
Yeah. Maybe.
So
No.
yeah. Well, so whenever when him and Cheryl divorced, you know, uh, they were kind of battling it out. But I think that's about the time he met Lori and things started to shift, like I think I remember Cheryl saying a long time ago in the beginning of this case that Lori loved the courtroom, loved it so much so that Charles was, going through his divorce and custody stuff with Cheryl, and Lori was going through her custody stuff with Joe Ryan, Tylee's dad, at the same time. So much so they were in court so much that they combined the cases basically to be able to go there at the same time and everything. And that's bizarre, you know?
That is really bizarre.
It is. I mean, I haven't I don't know. I don't know that for fact, but I'm pretty sure I remember that from the very beginning. I do remember Cheryl saying that though, that she loved the courtroom. She met Lori the first time, Cheryl did, and she said that, wow, you know, she's got 2 kids, she's religious, all right, you know, so that was, she said, I think that was about the only time that they really got along. After that, it was on like Donkey Kong. So, I mean,
and I was
I
there
guess there had to have been a shift, you know?
right. I was there in Judge Boreski's court when he gave her permission to
Oh,
represent herself in this. It is going to
what
be
a
wild.
shit show, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
To me, it's so disrespectful. And it's just, it shows the level of narcissism and that religious extremism. Just, it's like she's got to prove herself. And I know this because I pick up on things that they say. That's what I do. She complained in a recording that Melanie Gibb had turned over in the beginning of all this, where, you know, they're, I'll say conjuring, whatever the hell they're doing in their circles and their little home meetings and stuff. And Lori is testifying and she's like justifying it to the Book of Mormon. And I was not Mormon. And so I'm like, what is she saying? What? I'm gonna come. If he comes at you once, if he comes at you twice, if he comes at you 3 times, it says it right here in the book, you know, in Nephi and whatever she said. I'm forgetting. That's bad. And so she's justifying. Well, I didn't finish. If he comes at you once, twice, 3 times, it says it right here. I can kill him. It says it right here in the scriptures is what she says. And she was
You
like, so
heard, you heard her say this, or you saw it on a
on the
video?
recording, yes.
On a
It's
recording.
audio. And she's saying, she's up there just testifying, you know, at the damn pulpit, basically.
Yeah,
And
which
she's
is
a
what she's going to
warrior.
do which is what she's going to do in court too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be horrible, y'all.
So
It's
what part of you is dreading and what part of you can't
it's
stay
just the whole
away?
thing. It's like the
Yeah,
3rd year in a row, St. April. I'm like, what is it? April trial month or something for the Vallow Daybell clan or what? Because
well, and she's
I
got a
mean,
4th
I
trial
would
too
just,
after
if
that.
she had any, and which I know, I mean, but that was a big telltale for us was that she is going through it. Like, just you are already serving 3 life sentences in Idaho, okay, where they roll out the red carpet for her. She likes it over there. It's not really like a prison; it's more like a home. No, I mean, I did some research into it because that's what I do.
Right. So
But
take us there. So this thing that happened to your uncle, Alex Cox shooting him to death in their home that Charles was paying for in Chandler.
$4,500 a month. Only
And
3 weeks.
she didn't want him to stay there. She said, no, you got to go get a hotel room or something. You
Well,
can't
she
come
does a
here. And
lot of that kind of talking though too. She does a lot of that making things bigger and then forgetting really important things like omission, which is a thing in Mormonism. I'm just saying, don't come at me. I'll show you proof. But that's what a lot of these people do. You see it in every one of the people around Lori and Chad. Lori and Chad, the same. So it's like and I've 6 years into it now. It's a culture thing. I mean, this is for sure these people. And then, you know, you back out of that a little bit and you're like, oh yeah, this is not it's not just a one happenstance, you know, but,
so that came out of the blue. So Alex
the
Cox
shooting.
and
No, I mean,
yes.
like my uncle came into town. I noticed that he was coming into town with JJ a lot. And usually Lori would come, you know, so I didn't think nothing of it. I'm not a prying person. I might be a digger, but I'm not a prior. Um, and so I just kind of made a note to myself, you know, like, I wonder, you know, oh, cool. I get to spend time with them, you know, like it just was cool. And I, I remember that whenever Uncle Charles came in one time, I don't remember the date or anything, but it was probably in 2018 if I had to nail it down. So him and JJ come in, and we all go to my grandmother's house, me and Todd's grandmother. And so this is not my uncle's family, or my mom's. This is my mom's ex-mother-in-law. And my grandmother had never met him yet. She had never met JJ yet. And so he brought him over. And I mean, that was really cool to see my mom, my nephew, my brother seeing his boy for the first time since he was a baby. Yeah, I was just soaking that. And just to see my grandmother, that's her great grandson. I'm sorry. And it was a beautiful moment that I cherish, and glad that happened before my grandmother died. But I remember on the way, we were walking out of the house, to leave, and my uncle looked, he was in front of me, and he just kind of turned to me, and he just kind of said, "Lori, she just needs to be needed." And it didn't mean anything at the time. And I was just like, over the last 6 years, I've thought about it, and I'm like, I bet she does. She's a control freak, in my opinion. And I feel sorry for those kids. I feel sorry for Tylee, for being Lori's permanent punching bag.
Yeah.
And even trying to control the narrative after she murdered them. She got up at her allocution and said, "No one was murdered here."
Yeah.
In this
she
case.
said Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered here.
Well, we'll see about that when we stand before Christ, right? Like she likes to say. Yeah. I was just like, she's even taking their memories, their ghosts, their spirits are even visiting her and telling her that she did nothing wrong, Mom. And then
Tammy's too.
I forget. Yes.
Tammy appeared to
like,
her.
Look at this hooker. I'm sorry, y'all. I call her a hooker. I mean, a concubine, whatever you want to call her, a convict.
So were you aware back when they were going through their separation that your uncle had filed something with the police? Was it a police report, or was it a restraining order that said that she was threatening to kill him? Did you hear that before?
No, I don't remember that. I don't remember that till after,
Okay.
everybody else. I remember, though, thank you for bringing me back here, because when they would come in, that's when I captured, I don't know if many of you have maybe seen the video of JJ and Larry on the bus singing in the microphone. JJ's wearing a blue shirt, and he's, well, my parents owned a transportation company, and so they had a fleet of vehicles, buses, charter buses, minibus, all kinds of things. And that's what they were married to. They were married to their company, and they serviced offshore crewmen. So the oil business is 24/7. Okay. And I worked for them for years. I dispatched, I drove, all kinds of things. But I mean, they've done that since mid 2005-ish, somewhere in there, maybe before that. And so, but they were kind of on their way out, they were looking to retire. But again, they were always on their phones. And so one evening, me and my fiance and our kids were up at the office, and Larry and JJ show up. And so our little boys, the little ones are just running around. They're going crazy like cousins do. And so Larry was like, "Hey, I need to go fill up the bus." So we jumped on the bus, me and my bonus son, Silas, and JJ and Larry, and we go right there to the store. And I'm like, oh God, JJ is a ball of energy. But I mean, I get it too. I'm like, I see a lot of myself in him, especially editing after the fact. I was just like, oh my God, it's the mannerisms and stuff. And that's pretty cool. And so I'm like, oh God, I got to entertain them, And so I just fixed the microphone intercom thing. And so I'm like, here, sing, And so he's singing some LDS him, or I don't know. I don't even know what it is. And anyway, so I'm
Was
just
that
joking with him.
the popcorn popping on the popcorn popping on the apricot tree? I
Oh,
remember
hope not.
there's
That's in
no
the
there's
Hamlin
a
documents.
okay, that's where I heard that. Okay. I know I saw that. I
Yeah.
mean, there is so much. This is so deep. There are so
There
many
it
layers
is.
that I can't keep track.
Convoluted is that don't even cover it. Egregious and convoluted. That's the two words I remember. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
we can go on and on. But
So
so
he's singing on a microphone.
yeah, I captured that, and I didn't know. I didn't remember whenever the kids. So that was in March of 2019. Okay, so that time the very date that I recorded that. Oh my God, I couldn't get it out. So mom was in Arizona moving Uncle Charles out of their house, the one that he was locked out of, the one that everything was gone. Everything was gone. Her and Melanie and other people, they moved his truck. They from the airport. Lori canceled his return flight back. This is like January 31st, 2019.
Okay.
She jacked $35,000 out of it was their account, their business account. And I still would like to know where that money went, by the way. Just saying. She just did all of the things. Like, this is that thing where you're in a war, like somebody has waged war against you, but you have no idea. And so you're just there living your life, and all the while this person you love and trust is plotting. And that is so extra to me. Like, that is just so premeditated, and plenty of opportunity to leave. But anyway, so yeah, she hauled butt to Hawaii. She didn't call JJ. She didn't call Charles. She didn't do anything. She just bounced out. And I mean, at this time, Lori is saying to him, before January 31st, 2019, when we see him on body cam, that was so sad to see for the first time, really, when those came out in May of whenever 2020. I mean, that was just like so hard to watch, because I hear his voice. His voice is just that, I don't know, he just has a distinct voice to me. And just to hear him, and there's another body cam during the day. So it's the next day after. So it's like February 1st, I guess. And he's meeting with some other cops, and he's like, she says she's married to Marona, top of the temple, and he's telling the lady cop, who was the same cop that responded to Brandon's shooting, by the way. So interesting. But and he just looks like he's out of his wits. Like, he is at his last straw. Like, you can just see the life just, it's overwhelming. And I get that, because that I feel, and not at all I'm not comparing myself to my uncle. No, but I can relate to that, because all the stuff that I've been learning along the way, I'm just like, oh my God, hey, 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 hey. It's like I'm saying, hey, there's a fire right here. And everybody's nobody's responding, and I'm just like, what? It's really bizarre and lonely. So I can only imagine how lonely he was, and
Yeah.
just confused.
Especially
He did love her.
if the police wouldn't listen to him, like he was trying to do it right.
Yeah,
He
he
was.
really was.
Yeah.
A lot of men these days, a lot of women these days. Okay. I'm not trying to, do the, what do you call that? Where discrimination against men. I think men get their fair share of it. And because of the culture, they don't report it, or they feel like they're being wimpy or whatever. You can have your dignity and integrity and not put your hand on anybody, and you can call a mediator, somebody to help you intervene and control the situation, or at least knock it down some levels. Because I mean, it was spinning out of control so fast, I believe. Chad and Lori met in October 26, 2018, and that was Tammy was alive, Charles was alive, the kids were alive, Joe was not alive. That's a whole nother
that is a whole nother
thing.
Yeah.
It makes me
So
wonder because my
Chad,
grandmother died. Hold on, this kind of gives a little
go.
window
Yeah.
of time.
Okay.
My uncle my uncle came in to Lake Charles, Louisiana when my grandmother died, his mom. And she died on March 17th, 2018. And Joe Ryan was found April 3rd, 2018. You get it? There's a little window where Uncle Charles is here and the two, conspirators are back in Arizona. And then there's, Joe Ryan ends up being found. I mean, he was found in advanced decomposition April 3rd, so I mean, he had to have died before that,
Right.
So it just makes me wonder, like, did they murder him while Uncle Charles was here?
So that was a case. Hold on, dogs are barking. So that was a case where the police investigated that twice and determined that they didn't believe foul play was involved, right?
Right. I mean, I've looked
But
over
she
the
said, but
evidence photos and stuff, but I mean, I think
Chad
it's always going
Chad
to
is
be there.
Chad is her fifth husband, and how many of them are still alive today? How many of the
Well,
prior four?
Chad got the death penalty, so you could say 3, technically.
Right.
She put the nail in his coffin
The
too,
clock is
hey,
ticking, yeah.
you gotta be careful where you put that thing. I'm just saying. I'm from the South, and I mean, I'm sorry. That's my mama coming out of me, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
Salty
just
will
real, like,
appreciate that.
it's just
Yeah,
real,
right.
right? Yeah. She will. I mean, yeah.
So,
Mm.
so I know that 99.9% of the people that are watching this already know, but
I hope.
the house that Charles was paying for, that your uncle was paying for, that she wouldn't let him come stay. He came over from Texas to visit and to take JJ to school, and she
And he
said,
was
"No,
gonna
you
go look
can't."
at houses that same
Yep,
day. She was
yep,
supposed to be working at the temple, according to Zach Cox. She worked on Thursdays, and a couple other ladies confirmed that too. Not the date, but that she worked at the temple.
right.
So I'm just like, okie doke. Did she call in that day, or did she go in for her little shift later, or how did that go? And because Uncle Charles was trying to, he was finding all this stuff that Lori was doing behind his back. She was acting bizarre, super extreme. And, I mean, but then my uncle also told Zach, according to Zach Cox, which was Lori's nephew, his nephew by marriage, that, well, as long as she's not hurting anybody, the kids are okay, and I'm just like, oh God, that's that thing,
Yeah.
where we're just kind of just hoping and just praying it'll get better, on its own. And I mean, I get it. He would leave and he would go on business trips. He sold crap. It's either not life insurance, but people's planning. Like he planned their money.
Estate
Can
planning.
you tell I don't have one? Yeah. And so okay, so you know how a painter's house needs painting and a mechanic's vehicle needs work, So I mean, he didn't plan out his retirement either because Lori was ready to cash in on that, and there's evidence of that. And I mean,
Oh, wow.
so mom was approached by Uncle Charles about the life insurance. He was like, I'm just going to put in your name. And she was like, no. She was like, why don't you just, sign it over to your sons? Well, a surprise, he was murdered. And then she found that out. And then Lori found that out and made it like my mom did it or something. My mom's a zombie to this day. And nobody scratched her name off the list. Ervil LeBaron. Look it up. Okay. He
Well, at
was in
least
jail and dead, and people still died. And I'm like, Don't be calling my mom a zombie, because like only I can do that. I get like because the other people you called zombies and or dark, they are not here. 3 members of my family are dead. That's a lot of evidence, in my opinion. That's like down.
That's a direct correlation that you can't ignore.
I won't.
Yeah. So she called her brother Alex to come over the night before to come spend the night there. So he would be there when Charles showed up to get JJ, right?
And there's some indiscrepancies even with Summer, her sister, who allegedly flew out to New York City or something that day, but she was checking in. This is, in my opinion, a wider conspiracy, if I can say that. I mean, you can look in the FOIA docs and you read their conversations and you're like, wait, well, so this is right before he's dead, and then he's dead, and then after, and everybody's like, woohoo, and calling Alex a hero and stuff. And I'm just like, what? I knew the moment I found out that he was murdered, I was like, oh my God, that killed him, and I mean, I flew into a rage, and I'm not, I can have a resting, face or whatever, but I'm not one to fight or anything. But I mean, I was just like super pissed. And again, like I said, it shook my world. And so much so that I started researching the next day. I did not know this till I went back and was like, when was this? I found my
For real?
Dropbox.
The very next day.
I pulled
Oh
background
my.
checks on family members, and I've been going over them here lately. It's interesting what you find out, because once a case becomes public, or,
So what did you start finding out? Like, where did your research take you?
I didn't know who was who. So it was just very, I don't know, like I'm a gatherer as well of information though. And so there was a time when it was just a blur, like a whole year. 2020 was a blur to me. It was just crazy. Trauma. That's all I can say. Trauma. It's my trauma brain. I don't know. Just a lot of things happened also along with Lori, so my fiance had a thoracotomy. My parents were not here because they were seeing to her, holding her accountable. And so I had 4 little kids, and I was just like, oh my God, it was so crazy. My uncle was murdered in July 2019. I started researching the next day, but didn't really know what I'm looking for. Before my uncle died, he and my mom, I overheard a conversation, me and Larry, mom, and Uncle Charles, and it's like an open floor plan. So this kitchen, living room. And so I heard Uncle Charles saying something about a cult, and I was just like, okay. And so me and Larry kind of peeled away from that conversation, and we went and sat in the living room, and I was like, a cult, like, oh my gosh, I always forget his name, Manson. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, he didn't kill anybody. Oh. Woo. I had to read the room because Larry was like, what? I was ignorantly speaking, and I was just like, oh, okay, I need to check into that. And so I did. And oh my gosh, it's crazy how I did, at least. I speak ignorantly all the time. So please excuse me. It's never intentional.
So how did it take you down the road towards the LDS Church and things that you started uncovering there? Like, okay, take us from you pulling background checks on your family the day after your uncle was murdered to when do we start connecting the dots to some type of occult thing with Lori and Chad and an offshoot of the LDS Church?
I was in the Facebook groups that had popped up because I keep feeling the hair on me because of the kids being missing, and it went public in the very end of December, like December 21st or 3rd, 22nd, 23rd, when they made an announcement, a public statement, the police did. And that's when it just went, I mean, just, whew, it went from 0 to 100 real quick, or 144,000. But I mean, just all the things that Lori said to my uncle, I was just like, she got that from somewhere. That is weird. You just don't. Oh my God, I'm a translated being, and I'm going to usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ. Second, I mean, I was just like, what? It just was off. And then I kept seeing things like Church of the Firstborn. I kept seeing 144,000 in these Facebook groups. And I used to read all the comments, y'all, because that is where it's at. You guys in the comments, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I mean, every video, just I would scout, I have screenshots like a crazy person. Okay. But I noticed discrepancies, like people who seem to be members of the church. Our church would never, our church doesn't teach that. It was denial. We don't have the 144,000. I'm thinking, wow, freaking, I didn't know anything about Mormonism. I was just like, okay. Because like when I was younger, on Saturdays when we had to watch cartoons for a brief amount of time, they had a commercial that came on, and I remembered it. Yeah, it was compassion, pass it along. Yeah, that's good. Um, so I was just like, that's all I knew about the LDS church. I didn't even know Charles was LDS. I don't even know. It was not a thing. That's what I'm saying. It was just a non-issue.
So you don't know when he joined the church, because he converted, right? He didn't start out Mormon, but somewhere along the way he converted,
yeah.
probably for Lori, right?
So did Joe. Yeah.
Okay.
They were both Catholic, I believe. I think Joe was too. What? Yeah. I can go so many different ways with this, so I'm sorry. I'm like, but okay, so I didn't even know they were Mormon, and then so I'm reading all these things in the Facebook groups, and I'm just like, well, that doesn't add up. So if Mormons believe in a Bible too, then it's in the Bible. So what gives? And I mean, so I mean, there was a lot of these, and I mean, I was digging into that. I was digging into the case because not everybody was doing that at the time. And it's like they were sometimes calling it a cult, sometimes not. They were dancing with that. I mean, of course, the prosecutors never came out and said, oh, it's a cult, but they were just, I had to learn a lot of things in a little bit of time. I mean, I was very close, like just in my own little world. I didn't watch the news very much because I'm an anxious person. I'm not trying to have anxiety more than I already do. And so I just kind of avoided it. So, I mean, these are just, I didn't know what orthodox meant. I didn't know what devout or, those different little keywords or whatever. I still really don't. They're labels, in my opinion. Okay. They're labels. And I don't do well with labels, obviously. So it was a lot of like, just, I'd have to look up words and see what that meant. Or anyways, so I started to dig into the church. I've signed up to the website, LDS.org, because I'm like, well, can we at least get a damn Book of Mormon or something? I mean, and so I'd go to Mom's, and Mom and them had moved some of Uncle Charles's belongings from his Houston house. They moved it to their house. And then we had a hurricane and a tropical, another 2 hurricanes. We had 2 hurricanes in a couple months. Horrible hurricanes. And so Uncle Charles's stuff would be in there. Like I said, I'm a digger. I like to dig. I'm a digger. And so I saw some things, like a couple books that, I mean, really now they're just look books. I mean, they're picture books. There's really nothing revealing in those books. But anyway, so I'd be like, Mom, can I bring this home? I want to learn more about Mormonism. And so I just started to dig in. And I'm doing this by myself. I don't have I was in catechism my entire upbringing, like K through 12 or whatever. I never confirmed. I didn't cling on to that at all. I didn't retain anything like that. I just knew, that there is no middleman between me but I didn't realize that till the Mormon church. That's when I realized, of course, looking outside of my own, upbringing, it's like you notice things in other people, other organizations that go to a friend's house and you're like, oh, well, their mom does this and my mom does that, just the little differences. And so I'm just like, church is a big, big thing for Mormons. Okay. Not so much where I grew up being Catholic, totally laxed. Although my pawpaw, my grandfather, Charles's dad, my mom's dad, it turns out that he was extreme too in his Catholic beliefs. But I didn't know that. I'm his granddaughter. So, the kids get the brunt of that. And then,
Yeah. Yeah. I
so
like the way that Megan describes
yeah,
them
she's great.
as high demand religions. Like, I think
Yeah,
that is a really
it
good
is
phrase,
very
because
good.
not
Mhm.
just Mormonism, not just Catholicism. I mean, there are a lot
Right.
of high demand religions out there.
And too much of anything is not good. Okay. It's not good. And I mean, I hate to use this, but Adam Cox, he was a radio DJ, and they had a contest, hold your wee for a wee gaming station, like hold your wee, hold your urine, your bathroom stops. Um, it was a contest, and so this woman ended up ODing on water, basically.
I remember that.
And that's just like, whoa, water. So water can kill you. Okay.
Yeah.
Too much of anything, too much air and not enough carbon dioxide, all the things. So just know that whenever you're going extremo in one area, somewhere is lacking.
Too much
But
YouTube. No, that's okay. Stay here on YouTube for now. But after we're done, you can go. I'm just saying, too much YouTube.
no, no, I've got a mission here. So
Yes, you
yeah,
do. You're
I
trying to
don't know.
take us, or you're
It's a,
trying to get us to wade into the
I'm so
water a little
sorry.
deeper.
I should have brought my holy water so we could all get through this.
Or sage. Maybe we need some sage.
We need something. I need oh my God, I can't even think. I hate this too. And it's Lori's fault. It'll always be Lori's fault for a lot of these things. My brain was not like this before. I was sharp, witty, I had comebacks for things, and I don't know. Anyways, but yeah. So I don't even know where we're going. Oh, the church.
Yeah.
I started digging in. I ended up registering to the website so I could, look on there and read the Book of Mormon. You'd think it would be like free copy or something. I'd never seen missionaries around here. We had Jehovah Witnesses here, but that's about it. And then I started just kind of getting more and more into this. I started getting frustrated because people weren't saying it was a damn cult. Then I realized how harmful the word cult is. It's not very productive. So I don't really try to say, I say it if it's referring to just the group of them. Because it's counterproductive. It's labels. People don't like labels, obviously, especially those with bad connotations to them. So it's
and the mainstream LDS church goes out of their way to avoid being viewed as a cult. Like they have tried since like the late 70s, early 80s to appear more mainstream.
yes, and they still are to this day. They're heading towards that one world church, in my opinion. So stay tuned. I mean, for real, I've just kind of noticed these things in my peripheral as I'm going through all this, and I'm like, oh, ooh, this really resembles that. That thing I've always heard of, but I never was interested in anything like this. I used to work. I like to work with my hands. I like to make things out of wood. I like to work with wood and paint it, and sand it, paint it. I don't know. I've always kind of been like that, although I've worked office jobs and such, but I remember.
So where did your research into the church start getting weird? Like when did you start finding things that most of us would look at and go, no way?
I remember doing like an interview that I still never posted because I say and just all the nervous ticks like I do now. just not as bad. But I did an interview, Zoom or whatever, with a girl that was an ex-Mormon. Her name was Jen. Love Jen. And, she had covered some of the interviews with Lori and Melanie and their group, or I call them Kool-Aid in the gang. That's one of my little terms for them. Well, Jen was the only person, because Megan wasn't around yet. So Jen was like the only person. I was like, oh my God, yes, she's being straightforward, and I mean, she knows about Mormonism. It's like, I felt like that little baby on The Simpsons. I know I need to get better analogies, but it's a little baby. She's got her pacifier in her mouth and she's just, pointing at things.
Maggie.
That's what I felt like. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
like, I can lead you there. My gut feeling is like, it goes all the way up, especially the more I started learning, I never like set out to read the Book of Mormon from page 1. Okay. This is just how I operate. I orbit. And so let's say a filing would come out, I would try to learn about the filing. I would watch everything on YouTube, everything I could possibly learn about this case. And I know it's not the healthy way. I've said that from jump, but it's overwhelming. It's a compulsion. It's a obsession, whatever you want to call this. It's been chaotic. I say it's just my reaction. It's my grief. It's my way of coping. It's my way of understanding why, what happened. It just was, I don't know, because it's crazy. And when the whole world is talking about your family, that also, it's a push-pull type of feeling, because it's like, I want everybody to know Tylee, JJ, and Charles. And then I come to know Tammy and Joe's, after death, and love them. And they are always part of this story. They're part of my heart. I mean, nobody deserved this. It's senseless. These are basic human rights. You don't cross those lines. You get a divorce. She's had a couple. She's had practice. She could have been her own attorney even, I mean, the sky's the limit. But, there's people who are greedy and just think that they are owed everything because that's what they're taught their entire lives, that they're the one true church. They have the word and they can deliver it and convert all of us Gentiles, because, we are below her level already. That is par for the course there. Okay. And so you have this superiority complex. You have this chosen, elevated status already. Then, I believe, and I come to find this in my research, so this will kind of tell you the timeline. Lori ends up before she was indicted. It was May of 2021 when the indictments came down, and Chad was indicted, and then boom, there was a hearing. Lori was found incompetent. She goes to the IDHW. That's about the same time I was learning about all the church own their businesses by extension now, because they're smart. They're sneaky in my opinion. But that's why they get paid the big bucks. But so I found out that like the LDS Church used to own some of these hospitals and things like that, like, Intermountain West and so I just would kind of keep tabs on that. Around that same time, well, actually, Lori's defense attorney, Mark Means, had filed a filing, and he was like calling out the church, in my opinion. Like, that's what it looked like to me, because I definitely didn't know as much legalese as I do now. And I'm not an expert. Like, I'm not. I'm sitting here learning with you guys every step of the way. Like, this has been here. Let's share my difficult research. Okay. And it helps me talk it out. It helps me talk therapy. It helps me, whenever I talk about things, it helps me process them and be super critical, And but so Mark Means is saying that Lori, while in the IDHW, incompetent for like 9-10 months at this point, she's alleging that she had a mental health technician assigned to her, and that October 5th, 2021, there was a hearing that Chad went to on Zoom. It was the first time I ever went live on my channel. So that's interesting. That's the only reason I remember that date. And allegedly, the mental health technician told Lori, to watch. They turned on the Zoom hearing and watched it on YouTube. And I'm just like, well, that's interesting. She's that's her co-conspirator. It's just, I don't know the rules about that, but anywho, so Lori alleged also that her mental health trainer urged her to find a new attorney. And it just so happened that Lori got a hold of Daniel McConkey. And anybody knows about the church and the legal department, especially civilly, is Curtin McConkey. That is pretty much an in-house lawyer.
The McConkey name goes way back in church history.
I've read his book too.
There's actually an NFL player right now whose last name is McConkey that is tied to
in Louisiana. Well, we have a saint that came from the Saints. Does that make sense? Because the New Orleans Saint. And I'm right. Like, he's a real saint now, huh? Anyways. Yeah, I used to like football and stuff. I just don't have time anymore. But it was replaced with Book of Mormon podcast, Mike Stroud, Julie Rowe doing her bippity boppity stuff. I'm trying to learn these people, I'm studying them hard this entire time. I know things that they say. Those things stick with me. Anyways, but yeah, so the IDHW, so Lori is alleging that she talked to Daniel McConkey. So you're telling me that Lori just, her mental health, whatever, what did I say, trainer or technician, she hands a number to Lori or something, and so Lori talks to Daniel McConkey. I mean, that's pretty wow, because I'm thinking, and so at that same time, there's a SA case that hit Arizona, and it was about Paul Adams and some really egregious stuff that he was doing to his daughters, and how the church, because of the clergy penitent law, and it protects the freaking predators and not the victims. And that's when I started digging into the 1-800-LDS helpline. Help. And that's when I'm like, so you peel back a layer and you're just like, oh, because I remember thinking at first, like, oh my God, the church, this is really cool, that they have this hotline for people to call in when they're abused. Okay. And then you peel back a layer and you're like, oh, never mind. Because
so how were you able to dig into that and find more information on that?
Because of that, the story, the hit, mainstream, it was a very, what do you call that? Not public. It is public. There was that news story that hit the headlines. So at the same time, there's this Vice story, they're showing different women who are alleging this happened to their kids, and how the church basically, in my opinion, failed this little girl and her sisters because of this clergy penitent law, and being mandatory reporters and such, because the dad had, confessed. And anyways, it was just it opened my eyes a lot. That story right there.
So it was personal stories about people who had been
other people, yeah,
basically screwed over by that.
Mormon true crime.
Gotcha.
It's a thing. Yeah. It's so, I mean, yeah, all these things are happening at kind of simultaneously. And so I'm digging in, I'm trying to find out more. I'm sharing on my channel, and we discuss it. And then, so I'm like, wow, that's when we learned about how calls are intercepted. You know, it's not those the helpline is not for just any member to call and report abuse. It's actually for bishops and stake presidents and such to report abuse. And then the church or the Curtin McConkie can allegedly swoop in and intercept these abuse calls or these abuse reports, allegations, and they can slap an NDA, they can get ahead of it, and they can keep it on the down low. Secret. I can't, it's just, it blew my mind. And so it got my wheels turning, and I'm just like, but so did Lori call this helpline? Is that how she got Daniel McConkie? I mean, come on, this Daniel Dan McConkie, they have all kinds of lawyers there, but this is Daniel McConkie. And so, and then Daniel McConkie contacts the prosecutor in the case, who was also a bishop. He was a bishop. I love these people. I have to there's half of me that's like, what the hell? Because I can't stand corruption. I don't like it. Obviously, I didn't know that about myself until this case. And then I'm just like,
so a bishop was prosecuting a case against who for what?
Chad and Lori. Rob Wood was a bishop. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really know for sure which ward. I hope the hell it's not the ward that Chad was in, because Chad was serving a calling. Chad was an executive secretary or ward clerk.
Right. That's how he knew. That's how he knew to write in nerd to Lori.
Nerdy. Talk nerdy to me, baby. Gross. That is the most. Look, I've covered everything in this. I have read the Hamblin case, and that is disgusting. It's horrible. But the James and Alana story, I can't do it. I cannot do it because it is just so, I don't know. It's like juvenile. I don't even know. Y'all know. If you know, you know. It's disgusting. But it's also the nail in the coffin too, because it's like, you're dumb. You know, all these people doing these kind of things, they're just so bold and not really thinking it through.
It's the feeling that I get from that exchange is that Chad used to go out to garage sales with his mother on Saturday mornings, and he would get the Harlequin romance novels.
Yes. Yeah. The Harlequin.
Yes.
Probably criticizing all their things, you know. Oh my God, he's probably copying it, because so many times I've thought it, so many other people have said it. You know, everything is like, I'm from Louisiana, so we have gumbos here. So if you're not from here, picture a soup. You know, you just put different things in the soup or the gumbo pot, and you know, it turns out good. But anyways, the gumbo turns out good. Not the case for Chad and Lori.
Right.
His game was horrible, y'all. He needed some black magic to help him because he had nothing going for him, in my opinion. Just saying. I really do think so. There's a lot of indicators that suggest this was going on.
Yeah, I still can't make the connection with Lori because she's just so intent on getting, receiving male attention. She loved male attention, and so he's like the center of attention of these groups because he's out there with his little cult following, and he's teaching these things and the Visions of Glory book, and
Visions of Glory, he has their Bible.
Yes, he's the center of attention, and I think she craves some of that attention. But at the same time, she was like stringing Jason Mao along.
Yes. Yeah. And she was picking, this is a rumor. So April Raymond had just gotten divorced. And anyways, he had won a major lawsuit. Okay. So he came into a lot of money. And Lori was fishing. And that's like breaking girl code. Whenever she was over there, evading being served or being a mother or anything like that. When she was running from Charles and responsibilities, she ran to Hawaii like they always do. Her and her family always run to Hawaii when hip boots are required, whenever their chaos catches up to them, I do believe. So that's my opinion. that was her go-to. And it was so weird, It was weird to see Nate Eaton approach her, and I was just like, "What? What who is that?" Like, that is my first that's where a lot of you guys joined in,
It
Um,
is. It is. And so we're trying to get to where we need to go and not just sit at Nate Eaton's level of his interview levels. We need to,
yeah,
you
expand.
can help, you can, yes, exactly. Yes. And you can help us expand. I mean,
Oh
with,
gosh, y'all, this is nuts. When I thought it went to the top of the church, uh, it's that the church is way back there now. Okay, I passed it up a long time ago, and I'm just like, no way. And I mean, people will say, well, it's not directly. No, I mean, when you think about how cases are prosecuted, the prosecution's job, once they nab their guy, is to convict. Okay? That's their job. They're not here to tell the victim stories. They're not here to satisfy the public's itch. They are there to continue their career, make their career, if they're smart, right? And move along. Convict their guy and move along. And so it's like I have a lot of respect for prosecution. I have a lot of respect for the policemen. I've met them. They're funny. They taught me "see you next Tuesday." I was like, "What, you little Mormon boys?" Like, I never knew about "see you next Tuesday." What
mm-hmm,
today? Tuesday.
mm-hmm.
We call it Satan Taco Tuesday because Lori said she was gonna fold somebody up like a Satan taco and send it to, oh my gosh, Antarctica. Some stupid shit. More stupid stuff to forget.
Mm.
Man, I've heard more stupid stuff in this, and I'm just like, what is coming out of my mouth right now?
There's
You
there's
know?
there's your next merch line along with gird up your loins.
Gird up
Gird
your
your loins.
loins, ladies
Yeah.
and gents. Oh my gosh. It is nuts. I mean, they basically talk in Jesus. That's all they're doing. They're talking in Jesus, which is code to me. To me, as a non-Mormon, never Mormon, totally foreign to this concept. Well, I mean, shame on them now, is all I'm saying, because I'm on y'all. Like, y'all done messed up because, and that's so, it's like Megan calls it inside speak. I've heard it be called Mormon speak. I've heard it be called, I call it Mormonese because it's like, what? It's a
think
whole different culture. It's a culture shock to me. And so I'm like, is this a north south thing? What is this? But that's what it is. It's an echo chamber, and I'm not invited. And very nice people, lovely, beautiful people. And I hate it's so hard because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I never have. That's been the one thing that I fight with myself over that. I'm like, okay, I gotta just make the plunge because I got to a point. So 2021 is when I got to that point with, okay, I can't just keep my mouth shut. I have to start talking about the second anointing that I found out about, which is a secret ceremony that goes on in the Mormon church. It appears to be, in my opinion, it looks like polygamy being practiced today. You can call it spiritual wifery, you can call it felicity, you can call it a second endowment, whatever you want to call it. You know what else it means? It means the very same words that my aunt spoke to my uncle, that she was a god, that she was exalted, that she was here to usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ, that they belong to the church of the firstborn. These are all key words that, told on them, in my opinion, because I've gone and done all the research. I've gone and read Joseph Smith, the accounts with, in his words where the spelling's not so great with everybody, um, and that's what's going on. The United Order, the law of consecration that they practice.
What's the United Order? I'm not familiar with that.
It looks to me like the New World Order plan, but Joseph Smith style. That's what I would compare it to. That's what it's like. Everybody pitches in, everybody, like a community, what do you call it? Law of consecration. Yeah, it's interesting. It is so interesting. I've followed because I didn't know who's who. It took me forever to figure out. I'm like, okay, president. You say president, and I'm thinking I've actually seen someone else's comment one time, and I'm like, me too. They were like, president. Who's like President Bush, president. You name the presidents of the United States, but as an outsider, we don't call priests that, or I've heard pastor and things like that, but I never knew all the terminology in that MLM structure. It's shaped like a triangle, but, and so just learning all those things. And then like, I would talk back, I would text back and forth with my friend Jen that I'd met, and she was the only person that I confided in. And then she got hacked. And so that kind of ruin that, I mean, I couldn't help her. I felt so helpless, and it sucks, cause that's like, that was my person, and then it wreaked havoc in her life. And I felt like I was to blame. Like if I brought this on because of my aunt and all their crap and all the cult stuff in the church, and you never know, because people do some really, cult things, they
right. So where did Chad and Lori diverge from the mainstream LDS church, and when did you start figuring that out?
That was my main thing. I wanted to know where Chad and Lori's beliefs differed from the church, because everybody kept saying cult, but there was no cult. I'm just
That's
like,
actually the mainstream media's definition of Lori. She's the doomsday cult mom.
Cult mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm like, y'all can't say this anymore. You can't say, where's the proof? Where's your evidence? Because y'all always screaming evidence. Yeah. And then I learned a lot about the world that I live in and how things are portrayed. There's a narrative going on, and, but I didn't hang out there a lot anyways, besides following this case about my family. But so I stayed here on YouTube. This is where I've gone to the school of YouTube. Basically, you can learn how to change your oil, okay, on YouTube. Alex Cox Googled or YouTubed how to take the rear seat out of Tylee's Jeep. Okay. I mean, it's interesting times we live in. But again, this whole time I'm learning about myself. I'm learning about what's narcissists mean. What is Orthodox? What is a church? Who are all these people in these associations and all these things at one time? So no wonder my brain is wore out. And it's interesting because once I found the second anointing, whether they had a second anointing or not, because the common theme in, with ex-Mormons even, they're like, oh, it couldn't be a second anointing. And I'm just like, where's the rule book? Okay. It's secret. It's kept away from general membership. You go tell the congregation right now and they'll be like, what? I mean, and so to me, just knowing about this secret, sacred, whatever ceremony that takes place on a Sunday when temples are even closed. And so I learned that by listening to accounts on Mormon Stories podcast. I just would listen. And so I'm like, that sounds just like what Lori said to my uncle. She said that she saw Jesus in the temple. Okay. So did Tom Phillips. He was waiting after the ceremony. He was waiting to meet Jesus Christ in the flesh. And I was just like, you can't make this up. You cannot.
Who's Tom Phillips? Who's Tom Phillips?
An ex-Mormon now, because, he was given the second anointing, him and his wife in England. And M. Russell Ballard, one of the quorum, he was the president of the quorum of the 12 apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Right.
Mouthful. So he went in the Huntsman jet over to him and another apostle, because it's always two apostles, because when you are invited to take part in a second anointing, the prophet, the living prophet right now, which would have been Nelson. Okay. He's still prophet. He would have had to say, okay, yes, check for Chad and Lori. Okay. Meet me at the temple. And so that's what would have had to have happened. But a lot of people have in their minds these other, what do you call them? I guess a checklist where it's usually wealthy, older Mormon couples. And I'm just like, okay, maybe. I mean, I can't prove it either way. I'm not going to get a straight answer out of anybody. So, I mean, it's just very interesting that Lori was saying all these things, and all of the same things that she said to my uncle, and all the things that we have corroborated in the text messages between her and her fellow gatherers. They are all, I mean, I find stuff even last night, I was reading and I'm just like, good God, it's everywhere. It's like, I can't not see it. The only belief that Chad and Lori had, well, that differed from the church was the term zombie. So in my opinion,
I grew up in the church and I never heard that used, as part of church doctrine. That was
pop culture.
That would
pop culture.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's like when she says like, I mean, it's cool. Those things come from pop culture.
I don't remember much about the being possessed, like having your spirit kicked out of your body and your body being possessed by an evil spirit. I don't remember that when I was growing up either. So that's a foreign concept to me.
The other thing that, like Adam said too, is that she was giving priesthood blessings. And I was like, come to find out, when a woman attends a second anointing, first off, the husband's feet are washed by an apostle, which is like having the Pope come wash my feet. Okay. And then, so the wife, I guess in this scenario, in this little theory, to me, this is the call out, but then it could not be too. I don't ever force anything. So just know that it's always wide open. It doesn't do the victims any justice to their stories to force a narrative like what has happened. Okay. That Chad was looking to build a church of the firstborn, even having David Warwick testify. I was in the courtroom when he did that. And Lori looked like she was fit to be tied, but I wanted to catch him outside. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, you are lying. You are lying, David Warwick. Because they talk about going to this lot, right? Come to find out, y'all, there is this thing called a casting lot. And I'm going to do more research into that. We're going to find out more about that. It's very interesting. But so David Warwick testifies and says, oh yeah, Chad showed me the property. And I think Lindsay said something like, and what did you see? And he said, I just saw an invisible church. And I was just like, because it is invisible, because it's non-existent. Okay. It is on the next plane, so to speak. It's in the terrestrial realm.
And who was David Warwick again?
David Warwick was present the night my nephew was murdered. And I suspect, I feel with every fiber of my being that Melanie and David Warwick drove up there just for the occasion, for the feast, for the gathering.
Wow. That's deep. That's heavy.
It really
That's
is
disturbing.
Yeah. I think there's more people in and around the community that are into those kind of things. That's just me. And I believe, Melanie, it's interesting because every time she did a podcast with Lori, they would have to be in the same vicinity. Like if you and I were going to do this podcast or this show tonight, I would have had to drive to where you live according to their little system or something,
practices.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, it doesn't make sense. But this is the interesting part. Well, they're all interesting. There's all a rabbit hole everywhere. So, um, Chad and Lori were never going to build a church, what, a mile from the other church? I mean, the temple. Now they built another temple there. And I'm like, it reminds me of whenever parents don't want a parent and they just throw money at their kids, you know, because they're like, here, yeah. And so Rexburg got a second temple. And I'm like, what? It's 28,000 damn people and it's 98% Mormon. Why? Who and so Lori and Chad and their Wiccan friends, they went to the temple. We have those records. They are in read in by the FBI. Nicole Heidenberg, she read them into record, and the James Elena story. There's a talk that Lauren at Hidden True Crime has of Chad when he first met Lori. Okay. But then I found one that was from November 16th through the 18th of 2018, the same weekend that they were sealed in the temple. So whenever you go and you listen to Tom
Wait, what was
Phillips,
that? What was that date again?
November 16th through the 18th, 2018.
And
So they met
when did
October
your
20th.
uncle get killed? Shot, murdered?
July
I'm gonna say it.
11th, 2019.
So
Yeah.
8 months later.
In my
Oh
theory,
my.
I feel like the church, according to bloodlines, because it's a big thing, check them out. Go Google the what, I forget the name of the mountain where the vault is, where all our DNA records are. Just saying. That's what this is, you know. This is another crazy thing, I know, right? I don't know how to tell a story, y'all. I don't. Not a good storyteller. This is not my job. I'm just here, and I appreciate y'all just giving me grace. Um, Whenever Lori asked Chad to rate her family or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he returned it with all the ratings of light and dark. You're a 3L, you're a 3D, 4D, you know, rating system. It took me a while to like remember or to connect this, but I was like, oh my God. Around the same time or before Lori asked Chad to rate her family, my family, I had asked my mom, I had signed up to one of those, oh my God, one of those genealogy sites to, you know, follow the leaf or whatever. And I was just I'm sentimental like that. I like to do those things. And then, so much so, look, unopened. I will not. I found out this is 2020. I bought 2 of them, 23andMe's. And then I was like, mid research, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not sending that in. I'm good. Nope.
Hard pass.
Hard pass. And anyways, yeah, I'm getting to that, Donna. I for sure am. So at the same time, I had asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, who is your great grandfather? My great grandfather was adopted. Okay. So I was like, okay, well, Chad, you know, at that time, I didn't even know any of this had happened. It's not happened yet. So I'm asking my mom about my great grandfather's parents, you know, because I'm looking for clues. So she's like, oh, Lori's into that. She's Mormon. And that now I remember that. I didn't remember that until that point in time, you know, like I didn't know they were Mormon. But anyways, it just didn't stick or whatever. But so mom was at their house, I guess. And so I have these 5 screenshots, but they're live photos too. And so somebody, you know, took a picture of the desktop screen of my family lineage. So it was Lori and Charles's computer, you know, it's a Mac. And so mom sends them to me, and this is like way before any of this is happening. And so I didn't realize that till after all this stuff came out. And I'm like, oh my God. I had asked, and then mom asked Lori and Charles to, you know, if she could get a screenshot of my family lineage, which Lori was gathering and going to give to her boyfriend to mark my family as dead, basically. You see what I'm saying? It's very. I know I didn't tell that right, but it's because it's so mind blowing. It really is. But the Jesus card. So I started talking about the second anointing. I was scared. Oh my God, I was so scared because I didn't know much about it at the time either. I just knew it and it was secret. And I was like, this is it. This is what happened. And so it made me mad because the church would have had to have known. The prophet of the damn church would have had to have known because it has to go through him. Got to get his literal seal of approval if this did happen, right? And so it explained my gut feeling about it going all the way up to the top of the church. And then, so I started speaking out. And I would go on web sleuths and talk there. And so I would just kind of get my little jabs in there, like it was kind of a safe place where I was just like, rare. I would just mention it, and I started to learn more. And as I'm learning, I'm steadily, you can follow every week that I went live, you can follow my research. It's documented. It's crazy, but it's documented. And so it was a Friday night. It's in 2021, late, like probably October, November. Okay. Wasn't cold here. But so at that time, my fiance would bring my bonus children, his sons, he would bring them to go kid exchange to go to their moms. And so I was home by myself and I was sleeping. And the next morning I get up and I go into the kitchen and anyways, something caught my eye. And so I walk over to it and it's a Jesus card inside my house, about 15 feet in, 10 to 15 feet in. It's more, closer to my kitchen than it is, my door for sure. And I don't live in a windy place. We have our times, but so I pick it up and it's Jesus. And I've seen that Jesus before. And on the back, it said, "Hi, Kay. I signed up to the website as Kay." I don't know why I did that. That's my middle name. But I mean, I don't know why I did that way in the beginning, when I signed up to get the Book of Mormon, right? And they said, "Hi, Kay. It's the missionaries. Hope all is well. Give us a call." And they left the number, and it was a 409 area code. We don't have a temple here. I had not seen a Mormon church besides pictures at that point. And I Googled that address or that number and did a reverse lookup. And it's like about an hour and 15 minutes away. And I'm thinking, well, dang, it's just weird. It would be really coincidental if it was on the outside of my door, but it had my name on it, the name that I used on the website. It was inside my house.
How far inside your house again?
Inside my house, like about, I'm not good with distance, but like 10 to 15, closer to 15.
Like 5 steps from the door.
No. Oh, no. No, that would have, I mean, still, it was anything inside my house is just like, what?
Right. 10, 15 feet though. How did it get there?
So in there. And so my boys weren't here. So, I mean, I did like the whole, trying to deduce things, like what the hell is happening? And it didn't dawn on me at the time. Like, I was just so discombobulated by it. Why didn't I call the cops? I don't freaking know. I don't know. It was freaky. It was scary. It was like, what the hell? I've never seen a Mormon missionary, for sure. Never here in Southwest Louisiana. The Mormon church did buy 2 pieces of property south of Lake Charles. I'm watching. I got family members in the city council. I will be there, and I have people that will come and do that because they like to build their temples like women in the 80s did their hair, closer to God. Higher the temple, closer to the Lord.
Yeah. Here in East Valley, east of Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler, Gilbert, you can't drive a half a mile without seeing
what I
an
heard.
LDS church.
Our girl Trace, she has provided me with some relief. She sent me pictures. She, because she's from there, and so there's Melanie Boudreaux's house, and then there's she's gone to where Uncle Charles was killed, and then she's, drive by bird, drive by bird, picture of a bird driving by. Anyways,
Trace,
so
I had no idea you
I
had that in you. I had no idea she had that in her.
oh man, she's hey, I have the best ladies.
You
I
do.
have the best
You
people
do.
here. I really do. It's organic, and they're here because they want to be here, and because they're interested. They want to know too, and we don't stop. So
That's
I wouldn't
awesome.
be here. They're my strength, big time. They're my soft place to land too. I feel like I need to pay them. I really do. I would love to, man. It was so scary in the beginning because, oh my God, the case is public. Everybody knows, everybody's talking about my family. And I'm just like, wait, that's my family. So I'm protective, but then I'm like, oh my God, thank God. It's a polarizing kind of feeling, so it's push pull. And so I do get protective. I do. Like, I don't know if I need to be in the courtroom whenever Lori questions my mother because I could just see my flickering and I would just probably be that, and I would just dive over and knock Lori out, go to jail, all kinds of stuff. But I don't know. I don't know how my parents restrained themselves when Lori walked in front of them that first time she went in the courtroom in Idaho. All they had to do, I'm like, just stick your leg out. Just stick your leg out, Yeah. Just, blame it on your sciatic or something. I don't know. It's interesting. It's a weird dynamic, because some people follow cases as if I don't look at it as true crime being a genre. Okay. Like we didn't have a choice. And this was my parents' way of getting the attention that the case needed, that the kids needed, that they needed help. You know, um, they did what they had to do. And I was like, hey, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm background. I never wanted to just, like put myself out there because it wasn't about me. It's not about any of us. It's about the kids and finding them. And so they were the face. I'm like, whatever y'all
Right.
need, I'm back here. I'll push stuff to you. And so as I've been learning, I've been sharing stuff with my mom. And I just see her brain going, because it's overwhelming. And it's so hard to put together with all the emotion, the emotional attachment, the pain, all of the things that are attached to this. It's very, it hurts. It hurts, because I loved Lori. I never was like one-on-one with her besides, when she colored my hair and stuff, but she was very engaged. You were the only person on the planet. She was looking at you, talking, engaged, conversing back and forth. Um, so it's like I didn't have any red flags. Now I was dating a guy at the time though. This is funny. And it was 2012. And so they came, Lori and the kids and Uncle Charles, they came with all the kids to Louisiana. We had a Vallow bonfire, right? And it was New Year's, between Christmas and New Year's. And so anyways, they come in and, I get to see, no, 2014. I get to see JJ. Yeah, first time since he was adopted. And so, it was really cool. And I have pictures with him. And, well, anyways, my boyfriend at the time, he leaned over at me and he was like, that bitch is crazy. And I was like, what? Like it just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, after all this happened, I'm like, takes one to know one. crazy knows crazy, huh? You know,
Oh
like
my
it just
gosh. I wasn't
it
expecting you to
floors
go
me.
there.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, just saying, like, because it still blows my mind at how he could see that then, you know, and I mean, it wasn't even on my radar. But again, I don't meddle, I don't pry. Uncle Charles was coming in after this is after that, but Uncle Charles was coming in with JJ. So I got to spend more time with him. I got to see how my uncle interacted with JJ when he would have, you know, he didn't have his mom, he didn't have his sister because everything was ripped apart because of Lori. And I mean, just for everything that she was doing at the time, in my opinion, it was. But anyway, so JJ was having meltdowns. He was on the autism spectrum. He was a savant. Um, I often think that, you know, once he was diagnosed, because a lot of people don't make that connection either. They say, well, you know, when you have a baby, they don't come with tags saying, "Hey, I'm going to have ADHD and I'm going to be on the autism spectrum. I'm not going to reach my milestones on time." You know, that's not how this goes. So they, you know, you didn't know that. You knew that he was born with drugs in his system and that he had a tough start. He's a fighter, right? Um, and then they approached my parents and wanted to adopt, not the other way around. Because they also approached my mom again about the little girl. Twofer. I reminded mom of that when she had testified in Lori's trial. Then they went on a break or whatever. And I was like, Mom, what about Tabitha? Or no, Lori wanted to name her Tabitha. But yeah, I'm not gonna give her name. But the little girl. She was like, "Oh yeah," and she went to go tell Rob, and he was like, you know, and we didn't know the rules, but no, they didn't talk. But still, you know, it would have proven whatever at that moment that was being asked because there's this thing about, you know, I don't know if it's just the narrative or whatever, like if that's just what people assume. That mom and Larry approached them. They didn't. You know, I mean, it was tough, but they were getting along fine. But then once Uncle Charles approached, um, they started thinking about JJ and what was best for him. There was Tylee. Um, they had a family established and more than grandparents can give, you know. Younger. Larry's 14 years older than my mom. So it's, you know.
This conversation is so good for me as just an ordinary Joe Schmo. That's why I named my channel that.
Yeah.
I know the names JJ and Tylee, but I
That's all that
feel like
matters.
I know well, it does to the most common people, but
Humanized, right?
I feel like I'm getting to know JJ,
Good.
like through your
Good.
voice. Through your voice, I can tell that you cared about him a lot.
I do. I care about Tylee. I care about JJ. I care about, you know, I care about all of them. I care about my Uncle Charles. I care about all of them. I care about Lori. I care about Chad in the sense that, you I know that I don't go to church and I just know right from wrong. I know my God is like, you don't forgive, but I also don't want their souls to be damned, because I know my God wants all his children home. And they're really lost right now. They are backwards. They are upside down. They're on the left-hand path. It's like, I know this is, especially in the true crime realm. I won't say genre, but these kind of cases and stuff. But, so people don't believe in evil. They're like, she's not evil. She's, just a narcissist. Same difference to me, label whatever you want. But I mean, if there was a demonic possession, if there is such a thing, I believe it because Lori had the bluest eyes. She bragged about it even in a podcast about them being blue like Jesus's. And yeah. Oh yeah. But whenever she took her first mugshot, they were black. Have you ever looked in somebody's eyes and they were not there? Or I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I've seen that with my brother before when he was using. I'm just like, oh, he's not there. But
I tried at the hearings in December. I tried to make eye contact with her just so I could. She wouldn't though. She wouldn't even look in the gallery. She's completely ignoring everybody in the gallery.
She would have to look down her nose, and it's pretty long. So she's stuck up in the clouds, and you're below her level, you Gentile.
Oh, way below. Yeah, I get it.
And I'm like, yay! It's a Gentile party. I'm here. But like whenever Mom at Lori's allocution, when she was convicted, for Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, Mom got up there and she read her victim impact statement and she said, Lori, Todd forgives you. And I was just like, he sure does. But I cried, because it's just like, here you were calling his son a drug, your niece's drug baby or whatever. I don't even know where that came from. I'm like, oh, wow. I wonder if people think that's my baby or something, anyways. And here he is, the drug addict who gave you your son, his firstborn. It's so many things here in which you were so unhappy with yourself that you have tried and you have destroyed so many things, using them as pawns, trying to fill that nasty void in yourself that she does not. She's trying to fill it with everything possible besides self-reflection and saying, oh, maybe it's me. Maybe, I'm not exalted. Maybe I'm not a translated being. Maybe I am the reason my family is fighting. Maybe I'm pitting them against one another because I need to be needed. Just like what Charles told me. She just needs to be needed.
Yep. You remember those last texts that you shared on one of your recent lives between Charles and Lori, where he said, you need to be stopped before you destroy anymore.
You're a destroyer of families. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, he was on point. He was, I am not, and it's easy for us to memorialize, our loved ones, especially in a situation like this where they're murdered. Nobody deserves this. Nobody. But I also want real. I want to know the truth. I want to know if they were both inverted. Were they, what was going on? Because this inverted belief system is not limited to just Chad and Lori. I found out that, especially with the cases or the case of all these names get it all. Jody and Ruby, the Mormon vlogger mom. Same thing with her son and her daughter. The two little ones, just like Tylee and JJ, isolated them from their family. Jody Hildebrandt's whole philosophy, and so is this LDS Church of Satan group that exist within the Mormon church. So it's like a group within a group or a church within a church where they have to hold dual membership. Members of this LDS Church of Satan, this group, they have to be active, good, upstanding members in the LDS church. As above, so below. Just think about it like that. You've got the church.
So how did you find out about the LDS Church of Satan?
Paying attention to the headlines. I had subscribed to Fox 13 News because of my family story, East Idaho News, Arizona. So I was getting news from all those, the Mormodor, basically. And so just putting things together, wow, that's interesting. There was a headline that came up one day, and it said something along, I never can quote it. I'm really not a good quoter. You can repeat things like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish. No short-term memory here. But it said something along the lines of, and this is in Salt Lake City, it said, ritualistic child SA, abuse or whatever. And it said, involving cannibalism, even torture, cannibalism. And I was just like, what? Let me look at this. And so this is in 2022. Everything's going down with, trying to convict them in Idaho at that time, So we're on the, trying to get them convicted. And I start digging into this story, and it blew my mind. Not so much at first, because I didn't have a lot of myself to be able to devote to it because of the case. I mean, just learned the FOIA docs. Everything was a blow and a blow and a blow. It's like you couldn't come up for air. And then the next wave was hitting you, the next round of motions, and what are we going to do? I mean, just, it's crazy. And then plus you have this cult, you have these members who are these co-conspirators that are named and unnamed, and they still have not named them and or convicted those people. And so I'm just like, you don't get to do that. Like, that to me is very evasive, like, just say what you mean and mean what you say. Is there a cult or not? You plan on going after them or no? Don't get my hopes up. So I learned not to do that anymore. But the ritualistic way that Tylee and JJ were found, and then just seeing that story come out in Utah where Chad and Tammy were at, there you go.
This one right here.
And this has been going on since the Bishop Glenn Pace memo that nobody was ever supposed to see. Chad and Lori, in my opinion, are the 2019 version of the Glenn Pace memo. And in true LDS, I'm sorry, I'm being real, okay? I take this, don't come after him. In true LDS fashion, nothing to see here. It's all about image. It's all surface level, what people can see, what you can project, because there's a lot of projection here. There's a lot of denial here, and there's a lot of echo chamber. It's a lot of toxicity and shame, blame, and distancing from everything. That's
right,
real.
but they didn't distance themselves from visions of glory until after this came out, until after Chad and Lori became associated with that.
Nobody has. I mean, really, I don't know the statistics yet. I mean, and it's not
look
so
at
much
this.
the
Look
book,
at this
y'all.
article here, though.
It's
So I love receipts. I love receipts. So look at this article right here. The Provo police file in the therapist case was released to the Salt Lake Tribune and others through a public records request. It includes an unverified witness statement from a woman who describes in graphic detail an RSA murder and cannibalism cult that she said she witnessed when she was a child.
A bunch of times.
Is that what got your attention?
Just the fact that it was in Utah, southern Utah, where Chad was from. I was just like, interesting. Very, that's interesting. And because
disturbing.
Here's a cult, and there's children in the ground, and then Tylee's dismembered. Like, you can't. They showed me, they showed it in the courtroom for Lori's trial. They were like on the projector board, whatever, the screen, and they said, "This is evidence, whatever, Tylee." And I'm looking, and I'm like, I don't see anything. It looks like a green, grass, and then dirt, and then it looks like little white pieces of, like it's too far away. And she was unrecognizable because she's not even all there. Her body's not intact. Her body was dismembered. It was burned. They tried to delete her existence. Her charm that she had bought at Costa Vida, which I have one. I don't have it on. They found it not far from Daybell's fire pit where Tylee was found. The way that JJ was found with a white bag over his head, I'm sorry, trigger warning. It's kind of, my everyday talk.
I've got a little crawl down underneath. We may have
Yeah,
difficult
thank you.
items
No,
to
no,
discuss
notice
here.
whenever you put it up. But JJ was found with a white bag on his head, and then there was a black bag around that. And then there was duct tape underneath all of this, skin to skin, and it was overtly, I mean, just like they just went on and on and on with this duct tape. And Jason just brought this up, and I'm like, it breaks my mind, I think, when these kind of things come up with the kids and their deaths, because that's what not haunts me, but bothers me the most is their last moments being snuffed out by their mom. The one person, I mean, I cannot even imagine.
And we know for sure that Alex was there too, right?
Um, Allegedly, I don't know.
I
I
thought phone
really
records
don't.
placed him there.
I
I thought phone
mean,
records
yeah,
placed him
but I
there.
mean,
Maybe.
you, I believe it's a cult. It's a group. It's a group. They go by group even. And Lori and them's group was called the Seven Gatherers. I mean, this is
They
what's
even talk
going
about
down.
that on they talk about the gatherers on the Preparing the People podcast. They literally discuss gatherers in
They talk
detail.
about it everywhere.
You
It's
know,
in plain sight. And so I've had to learn to adjust the way I view things. Because if it's in plain sight, well, no wonder they get away with everything, because nobody's looking for it. And so people are like, well, you're going to find things if you go looking for them. I'm like, well, no, you know what? No hint. Because, okay. And I mean, I'm noticing things and I'm just like, wow, I never noticed this before. Again, I wasn't looking like that. I wasn't into all, I'm not, I never thought I was a conspiracy theorist. I'm more of a truth seeker. If it's wrong, right, or indifferent, I just want to know. I'm not, can't bring them back. Nothing will breathe life into them, but I'll be damned if y'all are going to do this to my family and then just act like nothing to see here. Oh, we weren't that close. No, it was just 50%. It might have looked like 100%, but no, I was calling her mom. I was calling him dad. We were swinging pendulums with owls hanging off of them, that we stole from the church while we were cleaning it. I mean, Heather Daybell says that Chad was going, she would see his vehicle at the meeting house, the church, 2.6 miles away from their home, because he was an executive secretary. He was serving a calling, and they didn't call him for counsel or whatever. Is that what it's called? When they excommunicate, except they didn't excommunicate him. They disfellowshipped him, but he was in jail. He had, they'd already found the kids on his property. This was like day 2 of his preliminary hearing in 2020. Then they're like, okay.
so how
So
thoroughly
this,
do you feel they investigated Tylee's death?
I don't feel like, I think they were just like proximity, because there are what is it, pings? And I mean, I still would like to get that together. It's a lot. It's like when it gets too close to their deaths, like that time frame. Like I said, my brain is just like, what? It
Yeah.
I have to like think about things. There was what's his name? Joseph Scott Morgan. I didn't see this till way after. Uh, I don't even know if it was Lori or Chad's trial, because they're every year. But I saw Court TV where Joseph Scott Morgan was on it, and they were talking about JJ's death, and that's about how, I heard it the one time or whatever, but then I'll hear it. I won't really go back and listen to that segment, because it's a lot. And so I'll catch it in other streams and stuff with them talking about it. And so Joseph Scott Morgan said that because of JJ's, the way it was described about the scratch marks on his neck and how it bled after the fact. Like if somebody is dead, they don't bleed or whatever he said. I don't know the terms right now, but
Right. Once your heart stops beating,
you're
then you stop bleeding.
right. So he put this in my mind, and so I'm sorry. That what if he was put in there alive, and then, what if he
Uh,
was buried alive? And I'm thinking, well, what about the tape and what about the bag and what? But then reading, and I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know, and I don't feel confident enough with. Like I said, they got their convictions, and I'm so happy. Oh my God, I'm so happy. But I feel like there's so much more that. I mean, I walked away from Lori's trial like, okay. I mean, it takes a lot to process something every day. Every day, a trial is every day, every day, every day. New information. Then people, on social media are putting it all together. And so, I mean, it is the craziest, uncontrollable time. I can say that. It's like you're glad you're finally there to know it, but then it's like the water hose analogy you did, the fire hose, the fire hydrant. And so by the time you get to even sit with it, it's a lot.
It
I
is.
did better with Chad's because I streamed it. Donna would stream it, and I would jump in if I could, during the day. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that. I was able to process it. I was able to be in the comfort of my home. It costs a
Yeah.
lot of money. I'm not considered a victim because of the relationship. Like if Lori wouldn't be the adopted mother of JJ, then I would have been the aunt, legally. Other than that, I'm his step cousin. So or cousin, whatever, half, I don't know. Never went that far. And it's so weird. It's like I never got a chance to be his aunt. So I'm trying to be the aunt that I believe he deserves. I always looked
I
at
think you're being
Tyler.
you're bringing it. You are bringing him to life and keeping him alive with us just by sharing him with us, and
I
I
hope so.
appreciate that so much. We've been going for 2 hours,
That's
and
nice.
you can go as long. You can go as long as you want, or we can wrap it up. Whatever you would like to do, I'm game for.
Yeah.
We just hit 100 viewers, and that's the
What?
first time we've hit 100
Yeah,
viewers,
y'all
right?
subscribe to Joe Schmo. He's gonna also try and attend if he can,
Yes,
when he
yes.
can, in Arizona. Um, I'm
Mer-
gonna be there allegedly. It's gonna be hard to leave Jason. He has a lot of medical issues. He's had a stroke since like all the things. Okay,
oh my
it's been
word!
crazy. But I mean, we've all gone through this together. I'm not the only one who has these kind of obstacles, right? You don't see me running and killing people. Okay, Lori. Yeah, I mean, that's what they called people that got in the way of their mission. But I really do believe that Tylee and JJ are SRA ritual murders. I do. I've had somebody who is a whiz genius. I don't know. He's actually gone through this kind of abuse in similar ways. I trust him. I've talked to him, and he can spill it like that. And he's figured out the dates. All of them are it's crazy. And I just want to understand it. Just because it's weird and it's bizarre and it's not the way you pray, they do. And that the proof, the evidence that I start with, that they ended with, is JJ and Tylee and Charles and Tammy and Joe. That's evidence. They're no longer existent. They're no longer in our lives anymore. They're not here to, get married or have their next birthday, or I mean, even turn on the TV and hit subscribe and share. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, it's like they're not here to do that anymore. And so I'm just trying to figure out what this is. I want to pinpoint it, and I'm on there. Like, I'm not worried anymore. I've tracked this all the way to the top of the top. And by that I mean the richest man in the world. This involves Operation Underground Railroad. This
And we haven't even
also,
touched. We haven't
I
even
know
touched
we
on
ain't even
any
touched
of that
Tim.
yet.
Tim. Well, he can stay there and come up with another couple's ruse or something. This goes to the highest politics. I'm not a political person. I don't like corruption. So, I'm watching my guys over here. I'm watching all these people and I'm connecting things, not by myself. I watch other creators too. So, I give them props, trust me. And I will now, thank you. But like this goes to Carlos Slim, and he is the richest man in the world. And he's buds with the Rothschilds. And that's so I'm topped out. So there's no ceilings after that. So when that happened, I just was like, okay, all right. So now we just fill in the context. I'm good at working backwards anyway. So that's how I work anyway. So I start here, or I actually start in the middle, and then I usually work my way both ways, and I kind of orbit. And this is just the way that I have to, or that I do things because of my brain, the way my ADHD, and it's a lot of research. It's a lot. I've got notebooks and notebooks and notebooks filled. Storage, cloud storage. It's nuts. And so now I'm just trying to wrangle it in.
Right. We're probably going to have to do this again then. We're probably going to have to.
I thought you'd never ask. No, I was thinking that before too. And it's just, I'm trying, and it'll help me too. It's just, it's trying to work around this, whatever this is, this trauma brain, because it wasn't like this before. I've gotten a little older, but not that damn much older.
So Trey says we need to end with the ABC video if you can find it. Do you have that?
Okay. Well, you talk while because I'm not good at looking and talking.
Right. I'm not either. No. This was really good though. I learned a lot, but I feel like we're only dipping our toes in the water. Like you're in the deep end, and we've just got like our toes in the water. So you can definitely help us wade in a little deeper. I think you're doing a good job of helping us connect the dots, though, like how you got to where you're at.
I mean, we need to play bingo or something, because it's going to get wild. And I mean, I feel like it's so generic, it's like I never am fulfilled or relieved from telling, like, okay, I got it out, it's still on my chest.
There's always more. There's always more.
So much.
Always more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for hanging with us. We have like close to 100 viewers still hanging out with us. So that's awesome.
Everybody. I'm so glad y'all are here. Thank y'all for being here for sure.
Yeah. And being respectful in chat. I have not seen any disrespect or weirdness in chat at all. Y'all are great. Thanks to the mods. Thanks to my mods. Trace is a mod, and we have
we share mods. Right. Hey, Salty Sleuth. Oh, sassy thing. Salt and pepper. Gird up your loins, girl. Gird up your loins. We're going to find your loins to gird them. Okay.
Forrest is here too. Forrest is here too. Forrest is here too. He's one of my mods. He's a great mod.
Okay. He's very nice in chat. Very nice. I really feel welcome. It's like I told Jason, my fiance, I was like, it's like, I used to drink. Okay. I don't drink anymore. Haven't since 2018. But I'm like, it's like going to a little bar, I loved finding your channel. Like Trace said your name or whatever, about Arizona, and, she ran into you there or met you there or something. And so I just ran across you one day, and you were going over the Delphi case. And I was like, I didn't really know much about the Delphi case. I've kind of followed some people because of the way it came out, but the reporting on it and everything. And then, that's a whole nother story, but
it is. The Delphi case is a whole nother story. And some people feel like I just got into the YouTube content creator thing because of Delphi. But I was like, that case was not, or that trial and those hearings were not televised. Judge Gohl banned cameras in the courtroom. Yeah, so the only, she is though, isn't she? So the only reporting we have is from mainstream media that gets in there, plus content creators and the public that get in there and can report what they see. And you could have 10 content creators sit in that trial and come out with 10 different stories.
Oh yeah, it's just like a witness testimony. It's not very reliable. But I mean, I was impressed. With just I got a lot, but I mean, the information that came out, I was just like, this does not add up. It just doesn't add up. There's a story here, of course. There's a story and a timeline, but where's all the rest of it?
Right. And
So,
every day we still have more. Okay, you got it?
Oh no, I did not.
Oh, okay. You're still looking?
Yeah, because I was looking at.
You're doing too much talking and not enough looking. I'm supposed to be filling in the.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and it's a completely different feeling you get when you put boots on the ground. Like I went out to the trails where the girls were. I went to the south end of the Monon High Bridge. I walked down the hill, which is the famous down the hill video from them. Yeah. So it's a completely different feel, and standing in front of their memorial was heartbreaking. Like I just got goosebumps right now just thinking about standing in front of their memorial there. I mean, it's just
same with me and having to, I needed to be in Rexburg. I needed to walk where they walked and breathe where they breathed and see the same things that they saw. I needed to see it, and so I understand exactly what you're talking about. It is something I wish on my worst. And you know what I mean? It's their children, man. It should be a non-issue. And here we are. And I mean, it's been going on since the beginning of time, in my opinion. So I found it. All right. Okay. So, okay. And this is like my first video, I think. But
okay. I'm going to share this. I'm going to put it up there, and I'm just going to say, let's end with this. Let's just end with this little video. And thank you so much for coming on. So thank you so much. Let's do it. Let's do it again so we can wade deeper in the water.
See you next Tuesday. I'm
sure.
Done.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Awesome. Okay.
Papa, telling lies. Papa, open for
Look, my bonus sign digging in his nose.
The bus is coming. Passengers, and we're getting fuel up all the time. Along with lots of I got it again. And we're taking off the coastal cruise.
So thank you for riding.
Okay.
Okay, why y'all eat it? Why y'all eat it? All right. Welcome to Coastal Crew Change.
Welcome to Coastal Crew Change.
I'm your bus driver, JJ.
I'm the bus driver, Pepper.
And I'm also your MC.
I'm also all side air. Yeah.
Woo! Thanks for riding Coastal.
And I can go. I could. Oh, Coastal Cruising. Coastal Cruising is all. I want to do all sing it all.
Look, pull it away from your mouth a little bit and we can hear you better.
Oh. I could all.
Say hi. Say hi to Mama and Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Say miss you.
I miss you.
We kind of miss y'all too. Just a little bit. But we're having fun.
We're having fun.
All right. Say bye.
Bye. Papa, telling lies. Papa,
oh, there he comes on. Say welcome to Coastal Crew Change.
Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night. The party's over.
I didn't know that. You need to go on American Idol.
I love it. I love it.
But you gotta do the Coastal Crew Change.
It's wrong. Come to Coastal Crew Change. Welcome to Coastal Crew Change.
Hey, and say the driver is Papa Larry Woodcock.
The driver is Papa Larry Woodcock.
say thank you,
Thank you.
and come back.
Come back.
And pay your bill on time.
Yeah.
Pay your bill on time.
Mom was like, "That's oh well, okay, well, right. You're making it suggested. I never make it an algorithm, Joe." I do have to. I want to show you all this other one too because JJ says duct tape. And this is January. My son's birthday is January 1st. He turned 18 on this birthday, and so we're at my Uncle Bobby's. Uncle Charles is there. JJ's there. This is the same time that Zalema, Lori, and the other gatherers were saying that they were going to go hover over my uncle's vehicle, JJ being with them and everything, with him, and they were going to cause him to wreck. So this is the same time. You know, we didn't know what was about to hit us at all. They didn't know, you know, it is so surreal. And so when I was editing and I was putting these up online to share, because I wanted to humanize them, you know, I wanted to share, and I still do. He said, well, my Uncle Bobby's there, and there's my daughter, and my daughter shows him a scrape she had on her knee, and Jason's filming, so it's not very good. But you can hear, you know, we're all just, everybody's loud. Okay. We're in the shop. My Uncle Bobby's a plumber. And so Ashland's like, Uncle Bobby, look at my Bobo on my knee. And he's like, oh, you're going to die. Pulmonary embolism. And we're like, oh my God. And then JJ's like, duct tape. And I'm like, no, because there's duct tape on the table, but I'm just like, no, this is so crazy. So if y'all don't mind, are y'all down?
Yeah, we're down. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's always when you mute, somebody needs you, huh? All right. This is Zach's birthday.
Happy
Bobby
birthday
singing.
to you.
That's JJ.
I didn't even know you was here.
My son and my daughter.
Where y'all, you babe?
Uncle Bobby is an opera singer.
Happy birthday.
That's JJ. I used to be a good opera singer.
To you.
That's your godson.
Dear
Godson. He's handing him money. Jax.
Happy birthday to you.
I didn't know we were putting out so early. Why are we leaving? Actually, why? So you can see.
He needs a camera steadier.
I know. JJ just said, get the big. There he is with his pajamas. By his Aunt Kresha. He followed it. Like, I didn't notice this till then. I watched this. He's a big kid. Like, he's like, move, kid. You know, very territorial, like I was. Uncle Charles was sitting out by the bonfire.
You got crawfish and you got like stuffed crabs here.
He's like huge. He's the baby though. Sorry.
Oh, you're gonna die from pulmonary embolism.
Pulmonary embolism.
All right. Anybody else coming? Hey, kids!
Please let
He follows me.
one time. One time.
Yeah, I have a better one than this. This is horrible. Look at my rubber boots, y'all. Straight up. Country come to town.
I don't know.
Sorry, kid.
Sam.
Android. I'm sorry. It's so hard to hear.
I got it.
You heard it?
Yeah.
He said duct tape. Duct
I
tape.
missed it.
Okay, it's right. I'm sorry it's so low. But he says duct tape. Duct tape. You can hear it.
Yeah.
Wait, we're about to sing happy birthday.
Now, what are these?
Oh wait,
children's
I need to go back some more. Okay.
I don't know.
Right after this.
You can't.
Sam.
Sam.
He's
Sam.
Android.
Hold on.
So
I got it.
my phone, and I'm like, you can have duct tape.
I heard
Duct
it.
tape.
I heard it. I heard it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a better one.
Now,
I don't remember it being this low, but
Silas.
Silas really he played his boots were on the wrong feet there.
Because we gotta call the service here.
Knows, y'all. My little dirty kid. Yeah. It's just surreal, you know. That's just those things where you're like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. That is a whoa moment.
But the way Melanie Gibb and Lori would describe JJ, you would think
my
that the kid
gosh.
was an indolent, okay?
That he was.
He would know what's going on. I'm like, he would have repeated every damn thing you said.
Yeah.
You know, that's maybe why he's not here. Anyways, thanks.
Well,
So-
we'll be sending out prayers to your fiance. Hope he gets on the path to recovery, and hope you're able to make it for the trial if that provides you peace and healing.
Yeah.
You didn't sound real
Well, no, I had to
confident.
think about it for a second. I'm like, yeah, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it.
All right.
Right. Anyways, bye guys.
Thank you so much. Everybody take care, and we'll catch you next time around.
I don't know how to get out of here.
I'll just let